Are you ready to move from an ordinary life to an extraordinary one where you meet your business goals, create a life that has success in health, wealth, and for self? Then come and join us for our retreat in Byron Bay, Australia at the end of July, start of August 2025, and come and rediscover who you really are. More details can be found at willowhealing.org.
Welcome to Willow Healing Matters, the podcast. We are so excited to have you joining us on this journey where we explore different ways to empower your soul, whether it's healing in your kitchen or all the way up in the corporate world. Come with us as we look into different ways to heal your mind, body, and soul.
Hey everyone, it's Catherine from Willow Healing, and I am excited to bring to you Jane Barlow Christensen today. And she is a master herbalist who was trained by her botanist father, and she owns and operates a generation herbal business called Barlow Herbal, not Barlow Herbing, but you do herbing, so there we go. Learning how to use plant medicine, taking radical responsibility, and understanding that we are all connected on a spiritual and emotional level is an amazing way to progress through life while we realize the divine spark that we are. So Jane's first career was in health and fitness, and she owned her own gym and taught group fitness for 40 years. She is the second oldest of 14 kids, which led to different life twists and turns, as we could all imagine. And Jane loves to share her story about following in her father's footsteps and all that comes with it. So a big welcome to the show, Jane.
Thank you, Catherine. Yeah, it's hearing someone talk it out is always like, yeah, I want to hear what she has to say.
You're like, that's me?
Yeah. It's been a wild ride. In fact, before we started recording, we were talking about, your dad.
Yeah.
And it was like, I'm in your dad's age range. And it is a beautiful thing to think about the wisdom that you gather along the life path. So it's really a beautiful thing. Yeah.
So where do we start? All right. How did you end up moving from your health and fitness, running a gym, to going, okay, maybe I do want to follow my father's footsteps and see where that leads me?
Yeah, so I fell in love with fitness when I was really young. I started teaching group exercise classes when I was 18. So it was just kind of like, I grew up really active. My dad had us always up in the mountains, and we lived out in the country, and we always were outside, and so I always had an active lifestyle as a child. And then I got married really young. I was 18, and I took a exercise class at the local YMCA. So I was this 18-year-old newlywed. I took this class, and the very first class I took, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm in love with this. So I basically spent 20 years in the fitness industry. I helped open a few clubs in California, and then I moved to Utah, where I live now, and I opened a club with my sister, a health club, one of my sisters. And basically, it's very difficult to own your own business and own your own, a club, especially if you're a private club. And eventually I moved on. The club didn't make it. We were open like 2 or 3 years, and I moved on to corporate fitness. So I managed this big health club here in Salt Lake. And right when I was a couple years into that, my dad passed away, and he was the botanist. He was the herbalist and the one who raised us with all this stuff. And he was really young. He was only 62. So I'm older than he was. I'm older than he is now. I am older now. So it's been 27 years, and and then none of us were prepared, of course, to lose our dad that young. And his business kind of died with him. He formulated all of these beautiful medicinal herbals. He was really well known for his tinctures, but he sold mostly to practitioners because a lot of the stuff he made went after hardcore issues like cancer and heart disease and, Lyme disease and all the viruses that are under the Epstein-Barr virus and all these things that he formulated. There was an education curve. So when he passed away, his business died with him, basically. Mm. And then as his kids, we started getting all these people all these doctors were like, what if you guys need to carry on your dad's formulas? So 4 years after my dad passed away, me and a sister restarted his company. And 6 months later, she backed out because she was just like, this is too much. It's not what, and I just realized in that moment My kids were both grown. I'd been in fitness for 20 years, which I still love, and I taught classes still forever after that. But it's one of those things we were talking about, like with the universe. The universe makes things happen the way they're supposed to happen. And I never dreamed that I would be the one carrying on my dad's work. But now I've been going 23 years by myself. I do his line, and now I have formulated a whole line of my own sense. And I feel so grateful that I get to do what I do. So that's it in a nutshell, really.
And how magical that it's that your dad passing, but kind of the universe giving you almost a branch saying, hey, have you thought about looking at this instead? And it fits so nicely in, you're still in the health industry. It's just almost looking at it from a different perspective.
Well, it gives it another layer because really our health is holistic, and we are holistic beings. We're not just what we eat or what supplements we take or the herbs we take, but how much sleep do we get? How much stress? How much hydration? How much are we moving? So the exercise piece is really big. And it's really interesting just because when I decided to restart this company with my sister, both my boys were out of high school, and I was really unhappy in the corporate fitness world that I had found myself. So I was working for a big chain of health clubs. I was managing a big club. And at that point, I was still in love with fitness, but I was tired of working in a place where people made me, I just hated being underneath someone's thumb. So I said to my husband, I really want to do this. I don't know, it's going to change our lifestyle, but I really want to be happy. So the reason I restarted my dad's company with my sister is because I wanted to be happy. It wasn't because I was like, I can't wait to make $10 million. Like that was not even on my radar. I wanted to supplement his income. And at that point, I was the main moneymaker. When I was in corporate fitness, I was the main moneymaker. So for my husband to go, I support you in this. I'd love to see you happy. You start to realize what's really, really important. And when you follow your passion with an intent that's so pure, because for me, I was just like, I want to carry on these formulas for my siblings because we all depend on them to take care of ourselves. And then it just blossomed into this beautiful thing that I get to do. And yeah, I never dreamed that I would be the one. Of all my siblings, it's like, okay, here I am. So
that's okay. I look at my life now and go, wow, I would never have dreamed this up from when I was 18, or 19 and going into life.
Right.
And I guess even, how quickly your life can change too when you go through a different trajectory. Like even my life from the end of last year to now, we're only in February when we're recording this, but from December to February, it's just been turned completely upside down, but in an amazing way. It's like things that I wouldn't even consider are suddenly on the table. And I was talking to you just before we started about, I had this pool. I came home 2 months ago and I sat down on the bed and I looked around and my husband's like, what's wrong? I said, I just want to sell everything and go. I said, I don't know what it is. And we built this house as kind of like our forever house, but it's didn't end up being that way. And we had to mourn that too. We had to mourn that our dreams changed and really move through that grief. And that loss is like, hey, this isn't what I want, but it's just this honoring this pool. And you're with the right person, right? When they say to you, I just want to see you happy, and I honor that. But even he went through this thing himself where he went, no, I don't feel like we belong here anymore, and so he went on this self-discovery journey too. And it's just life going, hey, let's pull you in this direction and see what magic we can create.
That's totally it. And I also think that you really come to a point where you realize, which it sounds like you've realized it so young, when you realize no matter, even if it's your dream house that you built or whatever, it's just a thing.
Correct.
It's just a thing. We're just having an experience. And if you are able to let go of some of these things and take a risk, there's something so brilliant waiting for you. Like I thought, okay, well, I'm going to go through the rest of my life and it's going to be minimal. We're just going to be able to, I'm going to supplement the groceries with whatever I can bring in. You know what I mean? So it's really freeing when you say, well, these things that had so much meaning for me, they don't really mean anything. They have the meaning we give them. And then when you can go, oh, this is just a thing, It might be a really nice thing. It makes my life comfortable, but it's just a thing. And then the whole world opens up. So I love your story. I think that's so amazing.
Thank you. Some days I'm like, are we crazy? And then other days, then we come back to it. And then, convincing my son, because my son's 8 and he needs, like, he's just at that age where, they like consistency and that sort of thing. And so
Sure.
his solution was, can we put the house on wheels and then take it with us, right?
Right.
And he drew his picture the other day because with the for sale sign went up, and he was like drawing pictures of like bombs blowing it up because, in his mind, then that will stop kind of things happening. But then he's also come around to it where we've said, what do you want? He goes, I want to be near the beach and I want a pool. I said, well, we can't have that here. We're going to try and move to have that in our lives. And then he was so much more accepting because he felt included and heard rather than, just being dragged along for the ride. But at the same time, my husband and I, but now we're teaching him that life can change and it's okay to be in that change and not be stuck in this routine that you think you have to be in.
Totally. I mean, I think the earlier they can learn that, the better. The change is the only constant in life.
Correct. Exactly.
It's the only constant. It's the only thing you can really count on. And yeah, it sounds like you're giving your son a real gift, because that was something that my parents, always threw change at us. It was always, but that was just part of it. It was not a big deal.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I feel like we get so conditioned through society and expectations that, our life should be that 9 to 5 and we have to work Monday to Friday and have our weekends and then save up and go for a holiday to escape our life. But it's like, why can't your life be what you want it to be?
Yeah, well, then you need a holiday after your holiday because you're so tired from your holiday, but you don't get it. And I mean, I know many people who, like you, have totally changed what they're doing. They've opted out of the lifestyle they don't want. They've realized the systems are set up to keep us like slaves. Let's get you a 30-year mortgage, and then we get most of the money that you work your whole life for, because the whole system is set up that way. And if people realize that I think people are starting to realize we have the power to take back however we want our life to look. I never go to the doctor. And I had a knee surgery a couple of years ago, but that was, I had a bad accident and I needed surgery.
Yeah.
But it's like, I get to choose to step out of something that's a fear-based model. And a lot of people are afraid not to be in the system with their mortgages and all their car payments and you trapped in the materialism. Like, what a crazy life that we've been set up to live, right?
100%. And it's so funny you brought up like the cars and everything, because we needed extra cash because I wanted to invest in myself to get coaching, because I believe, having support and having people to push you, right? And I looked at my husband and I said, I really want to do this, but I'm not sure how we're going to create this money, right? And he said, we don't need 2 cars. Let's get rid of one of them. So we sold a car, right? And people were like, oh, you're getting another one. And it's funny because then I'd made peace with having just one car. And then my husband had to go through it again, even though he was the one that told me we'd be fine with one car. And we were going to get another little runaround. And then he went, and I went, is it 100%? Like, is it a hell yes? Or is it like, oh, maybe? He goes, no, it's not a hell yes. He goes, we don't need another car. And I was like, no, we don't. But I had to let him work through that himself. And all of a sudden we had this abundance and we could invest that and have some extra money coming in a different way and create, like, we could buy, things that we were been wanting to buy. Like, we bought a rice machine. I don't know if you know what a rice machine is.
I do, yes, of course.
Yeah, so we bought like a rice machine. If anyone's listening, it's really magical. You can put frequencies in your body and measure what frequencies are out of alignment, and you can do stuff. You can do stuff with your plants, your animals. Anyway, I'm a big advocate for rice machines. Anyway, so but we had all this freedom all of a sudden, and we simply made that decision. We're not going to fit in that box and need the 2 cars. Why do we need the 2 cars? We only use one, really. Let's just have one. And through that decision, we were able to create more abundance in our life, some freedom, but then also take back some of our power from the debt that we created.
Yeah, that is Yeah, I mean, that's the way it is. In fact, I have some really good friends who they both worked for Delta Airlines, and they decided to retire early. They had the option because they've both been there since basically they were out of high school.
Yeah.
So they'd done like 30 years and working there, maybe more. But they retired early because they wanted to take a year off to go travel around the world with all their flight benefits. So they decided to sell their house and sell their cars, and just, because we're going to be gone for a year, why do we need to pay all the insurance and all the stuff? And they said, we're going to put all of our stuff in storage. But then as they sold their house and they sold their cars, they decided, what are we doing? And they sold all of their things. And these are two people who were in their early 50s at that point.
Yeah.
They sold all their stuff. The only thing they kept was their dog. And they left the dog with his mom. And they're from here in Salt Lake, where I live, in Utah. And basically they went traveling with no house, no cars, no storage unit full of stuff. And it's now been 13 years for this couple. They still don't own a house. They don't own cars. When they come into town, they have a couple of friends they stay with. They do a couple of doctor's appointments, but they are traveling the world with only their backpacks. And they've been doing this for 13 years. And it's the most inspiring story and that's not something most people want to do. They don't want to be that untethered, but it works for them, and it shows you don't need all the stuff, right? Is that a great way to live?
Oh, it gave me goosebumps. Well, it's funny you say that, because that's kind of where I feel these seeds were planted for me, and that feeling of coming home and wanting to sell everything. Because we have friends, and they're, I want to say, professional house sitters. They live nowhere, but they move from house to house, and so they get to experience all these different houses and environments, and actually be in like different places, but they actually have no physical address. So they just keep moving around, and they know that they can come back to one of their parents to, anchor down if they need to. And then I thought, and I actually asked, I said, how does that feel, like living out of a suitcase? She goes, weirdly, it was really freeing. She goes, don't get me wrong, like they have like a small storage unit because they like snowboarding and skiing, so they've got their equipment and things in there. But at the same time, she's like, we can just go wherever we want, and we don't have this anchor of a tether of a house. And then we had another friend say to us, oh, I don't envy you guys, because it must be so hard being kept by a house, like being stuck somewhere because of a house. So I had all these messages coming through, right? And I was like, well, yeah, this is so powerful. Like, I don't want to be tethered by these things, so it's not important. Yeah. I still like nice things, but I rather spend my time serving the world at a different capacity than actually being stuck in this house, which is lovely, and I love my house, but at the same time, it's not allowing me to go where I need to go.
It's so true. And how funny that you've got people who are house sitting, and they're totally untethered. Yes. And the people who they're house sitting for are tethered, and I need someone to house sit. So it's like there's a place where I live that's like 30 minutes up the canyon. It's a pretty famous place called Park City, like the Sundance Film Festival is held there, and it's a very ritzy it's a ritzy ski town, and it's very close to here. Half of the houses that are up there in the mountains are empty because they're owned by famous people and people with a lot of money, and it's just their second home. They go to ski, and it's the weirdest energy that's there, because it's a beautiful ski town, and it's a very ritzy it's a very expensive place to live, but you just kind of go, there are people that are tethered with so much stuff that they're not even like that's such a weird thing to me.
I know. I know, it's so weird. And it was funny because I had this vision of us having actually two places to live, and it isn't because of like wealth, I feel it will come from wealth, but it's not about that. It was more about, we actually needed two different bases, and this was this vision I kind of got shown to be able to do what we needed to do, because it was too hard to move all your stuff every time, kind of thing. So I don't know how that will play out yet, because the universe likes to give you glimpses and then, let things happen. But at the same time, it's like, what is your intention behind, like you said, having that house in the hills? It was just because you had so much money that you just felt you needed to buy that, or was it you truly love being there? Then why would you leave it empty so much?
Well, and I think it's okay to have, if that's a place you love to go and you gather up all your family, you go on these great ski vacations, or you go enjoy the mountains. I think that there's no right or wrong to walk through this life, right? Really. Everyone has their own beautiful journey, and,
And it's true. And it's like, if it's not for you, that's the biggest thing I've learned the last few years. If you see someone doing something and it doesn't resonate with you, instead of judging, I just give gratitude of, thank you, that's not my life.
Yeah, and they're probably living their best life, these people.
That's it. Or it's stuck in a circle, and that's okay too.
And that's okay too. Yeah, because of the bigger scheme of things, we are all connected. Some are a little more aware and awake and tuned in to their higher consciousness. In fact, I heard something really interesting this past week on a podcast I was listening to. Do you know who Thomas Campbell is? No. So he's a physicist, and he's older now, but he wrote a really incredible 2-part book called My Big Toe, which TOE stands for, so his theory of everything. So he's got all this beautiful body of work, and I've been following him for a long time. But he said something really profound on a podcast that I listened to, where he said that think about when we're born, we have intellect and we have intuition. And the intellect gets completely stroked. We go to school, we learn new things, we go to graduate school, we get our doctorate, whatever it is, we're always learning and improving our intellect. Meanwhile, the intuition, which is just as powerful, if not more powerful than our intellect, doesn't get nurtured at all. So our 2-year-old intuition doesn't have any weight behind it. So when your intuition pops in and says, hey, you need to, something feels wrong here, your intellect goes, no, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. I'm the smart one. So it's this really cool thing about nurturing and really putting some thought into growing your intuition, because it will never lead you wrong. It's like I tune in. I have my little supplements that I take every day. I literally muscle test them if I need them today. And it's a super simple. I just touch the bottle and I can tell if I need it, because there's an energetic pull toward it. And it's very subtle, but it's like such a cool thing when you're tapped in to that powerful intuition that we all have, because it'll never guide you wrong.
It's so amazing, because I do the exact same thing with my supplements. Do I need to take this today, or don't I need to take this today? And for so long, I was had a very, I don't know the word for it, but I have had a very big magnesium deficiency, and I know it runs in my family and that sort of thing. And that's actually how I met my naturopath. And I still remember walking in, and we still don't know how long we've known each other, right? We can't narrow it down. It's just one of those things that he's like been in my life so long. And I remember walking in, and he goes, what brings you here today? I said, I'm pretty sure I've got a magnesium deficiency, and I've been taking these little tablets and they're not making me feel any better, and da-da-da-da-da. And he's like, oh, a lot of people say that, but it's been masked by something else. Let's test you and see what's going on. And at the end of the testing, he goes, you are the most magnesium deficient person that has walked in my door. You need to take this, twice a day for 40 droppers, and come back in a week, and let's see how you're going. And I'm like, okay. And after a week, I came in, and he goes, what's going on? And I, sorry if anyone's eating their breakfast listening to this, but I was like, I can poop.
That's perfect.
I know. And I was like, he goes, look, just after a week, he goes, you need to keep going. But for so long, I still had to keep taking the magnesium. And it was only recently I've done all this work and everything, and I went back, and he tested me, and he goes, oh, what do you need? I said, I don't know. What do I need? He goes, nothing. And I went, oh, what? To get to that point, from going from like 40 drops a day, twice a day, to not needing it at all. Like, it was such a journey to get to that point. But also, if I was trusting my intuition there, because I'm like, I don't feel like I need it anymore, I'm just going to stop taking it. But then to get that feedback as well was really, really powerful. And trusting, again, that intuition and that pull, because I was like, I feel like I need to see a naturopath. And then his name kept popping up I was on Facebook at that point. His name kept popping up on Facebook. I'm like, that's who I need to see. And, we still have a relationship, 10, 15 years. I think it must be 15 years later. Yeah.
No, that's awesome. I think that, whenever I hear stories about people's, listening to their intuition, I just want to go, yeah, like every person who jumps aboard that, it's our higher self. It's our connection to our the greater consciousness, God, creator, whatever you want to call it. We're a piece of that, and we can tap in anytime. The goal is to start learning to trust it, because if you get a slight feeling, like when I first met my husband, I told him, because I knew he was a traveler. Like, he traveled all over the world when he was growing up. Not something I did, because I was just in too big of a family. But I told him, I said, look, if we're ever somewhere and we're getting ready to get on an airplane, even if we're out of country, and I get a bad feeling, I just need you to know I'm not going to be getting on, just based on a feeling. And he's like, okay, great, fine. So we've been married a really long time at this point, and it's happened twice. And we were in a different country both times, and we didn't get on, and there were mechanical problems both times. Now, the flights, no one got hurt, but they rerouted them and all of this. And it's one of those things that you can't second guess it. You can for a while, and then if you just learn to trust it, if something just doesn't feel right, then that means something's not right, and you need to pay attention to it. And it might just be, just don't do that. If that feels wrong to do, you might never know the why. You might never find out why this was something you weren't supposed to do. And that doesn't matter at all. Mm-hmm. And as women and mothers especially, we have this intuition that's super, super tuned in, because we're connected to this little human being who depends on us for everything. So if we nurture that, it will never guide you wrong. It's so cool.
Yeah. I often talk about how mother's intuition, right? Like, something's about to happen before it happens, and you can circumvent it. But how else do you explain that feeling other than your intuition, right? And I heard this quote the other day, and she said, I can't remember who it was, but she said, intuition isn't meant to be put in a drawer and left for later. It's meant to be acted upon as soon as it comes through.
Yeah, every time and every day. It's your most powerful tool to walk through this life as a human. Yeah. Because we're not, I'm sure you've heard this 100 times, we're not a human being having a spiritual experience. We're a spiritual being having a physical experience. Like, that's who we are. We're not this avatar. Yeah. We're these spiritual beings having these experiences, and that's something that's been given to us to guide us through, so we can do our thing and be safe and have fun and whatever.
Exactly. And then we go, wow, what a time to be incarnated on Earth.
Woo! Holding on for the ride.
This year's going to be, oh my god, I don't know if you get this feeling too, Jane, but this year, the energy's coming up, especially like entering into this age of Aquarius. Oh my goodness. I'm like, wow. And it's already started. You can see the ripples starting with all the stuff happening in America and everything and how it's flowing out. And even here in Australia, because I'm part of this group, and we're like a human rights group, and we keep people in check, right? So we're like, what's all this crap going on? Like, why are they trying to get all this stuff through now? And then they're like, oh, we have this system called Medicare. Oh, we'll give some money to Medicare, just so you look that way, when we're doing all this stuff in the background. So it's really interesting to see how things are playing out and how the world's shifting so much and where everything's going.
Oh my God, it's so fast. Like, I think, I grew up within a very religious family. Almost all my siblings don't practice our childhood religion, because really you realize your spirituality is not about that. But I grew up in a religion that basically, as a teenager, which now has been many decades, that we were in the last days. We were in the last days before the coming of Christ. And so I always thought, oh my gosh, we're in the last days and this is it. And then it never happened. It never happened. It never happened. And it never happened, And so then you realize different things too. You actually go on a more spiritual consciousness path. You realize that's what it is. But then the interesting thing is, oh my gosh, I totally lost my train of thought because what were we talking about? What did you just say before that?
Oh my goodness. We were talking about how there's so much change happening in the
Oh,
world
yeah.
at the moment. Yeah. So
Okay. So now, having been raised with that mindset where I thought I was sure as a teenager that those were the last days.
Yeah.
And that the physical body of Christ was going to come. I was absolutely positive. And then of course it didn't. But now because I am a very different person and the world I've grown, all this stuff. I believe that these days we're in right now, you look at the things that are happening, they're so fast. We don't even have time to catch our breath before something major happens. And then the next day something major happens somewhere else. And because we're so connected, like you're in Australia, I'm in the United States, and we're having this beautiful conversation in real time. Exactly. And because now we can connect, I'm so excited to be here. I sometimes wish I was a little younger because I think we still have some time to play out, but I want to see what's going to happen.
I know.
And I don't want to come back. This is my last time here.
I say the same thing. Everyone's like, why do you do all this healing? I'm like, because I don't want to have to do it again.
That's it. This is it. I don't need to come back.
Exactly. And, it's funny. I had this vision this morning, something popped up and I was like, it's almost like you get that feeling you want to get a bucket of popcorn and just watch the world stage and watch what's happening around you because there's just
big bucket.
It's you can't even write this script. It's just crazy.
It's crazy and exhilarating. And this is where I think people who feel like it's a doomsday type of scenario, you need to shift your perspective because it's always about shifting your perspective.
Yeah.
Always. No matter what, I know people who live in a doomsday victim type of mentality, and I am at a point where I can't even be around them because it's like I don't need that energetic pull because if that's your journey, okay. But for those who want to see the brighter perspective, it's a matter of shifting your perspective. That's all this is.
Exactly. And instead of going, oh my God, what's happening? It's like, wow, what's going to be next? And the energy just shift between that. You could say, oh no, what's next? Or wow, what's next? Same thing, but different energy behind it. And then it's not fear-based anymore. It's more from a, wow, this is, I can't even, you can't even get your head around it space.
Well, and the cool thing is as more people are starting to realize this, because there is a mass awakening happening, there's a thing that a lot of people are starting to become familiar with, which is quantum physics and the thought of quantum entanglement. Yeah. So you think about, if I'm going to push out fear and a doomsday thing, that's going to go out and feed that into the field. But if I push out love and positivity and kindness, there is a quantum entanglement. It's just like when you try to explain this to people, it's like explaining how the Wi-Fi works, how your internet works. You can't see it, but it's there, it's working, and it's like there's this whole beautiful field of information that's starting to come out that we've realized. We're not just made up of our five senses. We're so much more than that. It's mind blowing to think about, and so fun. Like, I am so glad I'm here to see this.
I know. And it's like you learn something new. So I'm reading the Holographic Universe at the moment, right?
Oh.
So, yeah. And I'm like, this is so interesting. How can your brain possibly store, because it's based on this principle that we're all got holographs kind of thing. And it's like, how can our brain store so many memories? And they were talking about these studies they did, which sounds horrific, but, back in when they did more studies like this, but they were cutting out parts of people's brains and they were still having the same memories, or they were stimulating these things and going, how can they still have these memories when we thought that was gone? And it's this idea that there's all these different fragments, I guess, stored across multiple centers so that just one touch point can evoke the same memory. And it was just so fascinating to think, wow, we really are infinite. And then taking that further and thinking that this information's all in our ether, in our energy bodies, because we can't possibly store that much in our brains.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Exactly right. You have this beautiful light, like you're an angel right now.
Where I'm recording for people listening, there's a sun coming through the window and it does make me look a little bit like the light shining on me.
The light is shot. I knew it was coming from a window because it keeps changing and getting bigger. And I'm like, oh my gosh, Catherine is glowing like an infinite being as we're talking about the infinite beings that we are.
I'm here for great things, Jane.
Oh my gosh, that's quite obvious. In fact, when we jumped on this call in this video, I'm like, I could tell right away. Oh, this is a like-minded soul. I could totally feel your energy. It was so fabulous. But the light is very helpful.
Thank you. I'll have to take a photo before we finish, and then so people can see. But it's amazing, but how much people I've been sent, that I've been connecting with through this podcast. And it's funny because when I started this podcast, I just really wanted to have conversations with people because I've met so many amazing people with so many amazing things to share. And I'm like, hey, let's just share it in a format that gets out to the world somehow, and then I've met people like yourself, and it is like meeting these like-minded spirits, like your tribe across the world, really. And I guess that's where I'm grateful for the whole lockdown COVID scenario, because people are more accepting of this platform now, and you can connect with people over the world, and it's gotten stronger and easier to use, and you're not worried about dropouts as much anymore because the technology's evolved.
Yeah, totally. I think it's a really important time to not only utilize these platforms and the connections, and then on the other spectrum to realize we still need to get together in person with people because we need that physical touch, the energetic, connection, and the frequency that we get to exchange with each other. That's a really important part too. But yeah, this to me is a really fun part of technology, because the moment that our cameras both went on and I saw your smiling face, I'm like, oh, okay, I could totally feel your energy. I was like, this girl is like, okay, I'm adopting her.
Thank you. You can be my mom, Jane. From.
Okay, well, I think I'm old enough to be your mom, but that's all good. I'll let you be my little sister, okay?
Perfect. So as we're finishing up our time together, we could happily talk all day, but as we finish up our time together, I asked the guests if we could heal or shift something in the world, what would you want to see? What would you want it to be?
What I would love to, probably one of my biggest messages for people is that we need to realize that we're the ones in charge. Like we're responsible for everything that we experience in this life. What love we experience, if we experience sadness or anger, we're responsible for all of that. So in the moment we give away our power to the government, our doctor, our mother, our sister, our husband, our brother, the moment we give away our power in any category, like our emotional health, our financial health, our physical health, every time we outsource our responsibility for the experiences we have, we are doing ourselves a massive disservice. So I think if people were willing to take radical responsibility, that means you don't blame anyone for the problems that you think you have, or the problems that maybe are real and you do have. You are the one who gets to change them. So I think this can go for everything. If you're in financial trouble, like you're in debt and you've got a lot of financial problems, well, you're the one that's responsible for that. And you get to make the choices. Some of it might be really tough. You might have to make some sacrifices, but it's not because the bank's a bad person. Your boss is not, he didn't give you a raise or whatever. Same with your health. Your doctor is not in charge of your health. Now, they can help you along your journey, but you are 100% responsible. It's like coming in with a marriage. Like if you've ever asked a couple, how much of the marriage are you responsible for? The usual response is, well, I'm responsible for 50% and they're responsible for 50%. No, you are each 100% responsible for what you bring into the relationship. So I kind of started going off, but I think that's the number one thing I would love for people to realize is that when you take 100% responsibility for everything in your life, the way it plays out, no matter what it is, life can become magical, absolutely magical. And it just simply takes doing it. And it sounds, okay, easier said than done. Yeah. But to me, can you imagine 8 billion people taking radical responsibility for themselves in all the categories that we walk through this life and do? Like, the world would change overnight. and not blaming anyone. Yeah, I mean, it's no one's fault. It's easy to be a victim, but boy, you go down that spiral, that's a dangerous place to be a victim in any place.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
100%. Well, Jane, it has been an amazing conversation. Thank you so much for being on the show. And how can people get in contact with you?
Well, so I have a little YouTube channel. It's called Barlow Herbal, and I put out an herbal video every week, but I also every Sunday I do a Sunday message of love, and I've been doing that for probably about over 3 years now. But I've had my channel for longer than that. But I've been watching the world, just kind of thinking, okay, I need to have a little way to spread love. So every Sunday, I never miss a Sunday. I do a little Sunday message of love. And then my website is barlowherbal.com, and I'm on Instagram and Facebook, just on Barlow Herbal. So people can get inspired and hopefully, to take better care of their health just with some little tips that I share. So.
Oh, beautiful. And trust me, people, you will love Jane's energy. So go check her out, because I'm very excited to be just sharing this hour with her, which is amazing. So thank you, everyone, for listening. And we'll put all the details for connecting with Jane in the show notes as well. And thank you again, Jane. It's been amazing.
Thank you, Catherine. It has been amazing.
Thank you for listening to Willow Healing Matters, the podcast. We have so much love and gratitude that you have taken the time out of your day to empower you on your healing journey. The views shared by the person being interviewed might not necessarily reflect that of the host and should be used at your own discernment. Trust what resonates for you and follow your heart and soul guidance. If you have any underlying medical conditions or mental health issues, please consult with your healthcare provider before pursuing any of the recommendations. Likewise, you can always contact the person being interviewed to find out more information. This can be found in the show notes. Remember to activate, align, heal, empower, and find love in everything that you do.